Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from OurSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Tuesday. What is today, the 9th? Yes, it is. Tuesday, December 9th. Happy birthday to my niece. She's
Happy
18
birthday.
today. Yeah, she's awesome. We love my niece. So happy birthday to her. We're going to talk about the press conference from Notre Dame's athletic director, Pete Bevacqua. It's kind of a lot of rehashing, but I thought this one was I think this was the best combination of like all the answers you kind of want. He's hit on a bunch of things in other interviews, but I thought he explained things the best in this format. So I think this was a good format for him. It's kind of a longer form than some of the hits they've been doing. So it's interesting. Obviously, I think people want a little bit more concrete action on the ACC. I don't know that that's reasonable. And I think that his stance on like the SEC and even the committee to some extent is kind of like couched in a way where it's like, hey, he's got to maintain relationships here. He can't burn just bridges. So, but we're going to get into all that. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you like what you hear, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, so you know whenever it is we are going live. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. He is Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. It is the season of gifting, and ESQ is here to help you, your husband, father, son, nephew, or even the unlikable uncle some style for the holidays. Known for their next-level craftsmanship using the finest fabrics, ESQ has introduced a 100% Pima cotton t-shirt to go along with its award-winning bamboo dress shirt, which is available for purchase online. He's got showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka. Book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment or use code ISD at checkout and receive 10% off your entire purchase. Really quickly, Jeremiah Love, Heisman finalist. We should talk about that a little bit. That's great for him. It meant something to him.
Well deserved.
Well deserved. He's the only non-quarterback on the list. So I think that's good. I'm glad he gets to go and represent Notre Dame. This is Notre Dame's first Heisman finalist at running back since what would you consider some of like the older, like Paul Hornung was a quarterback.
That's a great question.
Am I forgetting somebody at running back? I don't know that they've had a running back as a Heisman finalist. Because I think Johnny Latner was a Heisman Trophy winner, but
I don't think there was one because there wasn't.
Reggie Brooks was not a Heisman finalist.
Not a Heisman.
He was fifth, so he wasn't invited. So he didn't get to go. I think Jeremiah Love's the only one. I might be wrong about that. I feel bad. We're definitely going like way back if it's true. One of the four horsemen might have been a running back. Did they have the Heisman back then? I don't even know.
There wasn't anyone in the 80s. I don't believe there was anyone running back in the 70s that was there. So, I don't know. I don't know enough to say.
Yeah.
Who was like in like if there was like, well, 1 year, when they lost to USC at the end of the year in 1969 or whatever, and they had a running back. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but it's been a long time. That's why, like, when you look at it too, and obviously Notre Dame's had a lot of great running backs over the years. I think he is 100% in the conversation, if not definitively the best one that has ever played for Notre Dame.
Yeah. Hubert Scribe, thank you for the super chat. The basic feeling about the college football playoff is that he can't keep caring so much about something they handle so carelessly. And I think that was the main crux of, Pete Bevacqua, what he's been saying. Let's just get into the press conference now. He kind of led off with, how it happened and his opening statements. I think, the entire crux of their argument is like, look, he's one thing he's definitely not trying to do, Jamie, is he's not trying to make a case in hindsight after the fact against Miami and or Alabama or anybody else.
Which is the way to approach it.
Because it's also like it's for what? It's over.
It's done. It's done. Yeah.
So he doesn't need to do that. And I understand what he's saying is like, look it, we didn't rank the teams. You ranked the teams, right? So from his point of view, he's like, look, we were ranked 10 and Miami was ranked 18 and we had already lost to them. It's not like he has said the whole time, we don't hide from the fact that we lost the game. We don't. You ranked them at 18 and you beat the same types of teams that Notre Dame beat by the same score. So like you like it was something that they did. You ranked them at 9, you ranked them at 10. Like I thought he made a good point. Like, that he made a good point about like our team is sitting there wrecking teams. And then it's like, they got to hear about, well, there was this game that they went for it on fourth down.
They went for it on fourth down. We gave them credit for that.
Game when a team went for it on fourth down, and that's why they went ahead of you. Like, he's like, that doesn't make sense. Like that's ridiculous. And like that. And so his focus has been entirely on the process. He hasn't used the words misleading. He might've used the word misleading at some point. He hasn't used the words bad faith, the phrase bad faith. I think it was a bad faith process, in my opinion, in hindsight, actually. But just kind of get your thoughts on kind of his take on the whole situation and how they're kind of handling it. Because he also mentioned Greg Sankey and having a good relationship with Greg Sankey, which is very interesting to me. But kind of get your thoughts on how he approached that whole situation.
Well, I mean, specifically the Greg Sankey thing, and actually it's funny because Sam mentions it in the comments. What scheduling arrangement you interested in? The thing is that like if there is some loophole to say like there was a damage, like an actual damaging thing that they can get out of their ACC agreement, they would obviously look at it. It's funny when I hear people say, go to the Big 12. No, like that. No. That's like, it would be even worse than going to the ACC. You're going to play some teams that are just your strength of schedule goes down. It's like funny. It's like if you have BYU on your schedule, you get credit or something. But it's like if you don't have if you have, or if you play Texas Tech, great. If you don't play any of those other teams, like, oh, it's looking dark. Like I saw like an Arizona beat writer guy was like making fun of Notre Dame's schedule when they have like the 80th strength of schedule this year. Like, get out of here, Arizona guy who probably makes minimum wage to cover your team. Get out of here. Like, I hate these. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon now, but like, so it doesn't make any sense for the Big 12. But like, obviously the Big 10 and SEC, I don't know if those teams would. I mean, those teams they would take Notre Dame in a second as a full member, obviously.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they would do an actual scheduling agreement and then take them and sort. I don't know, right? Like I don't know, because maybe like there'd be too many other teams who are like, hey, this isn't good. But I'm telling you what, the teams would be interested if that added to their their pot of money that they were getting. And which is, I think the SEC has that kind of like in their ESPN contract that if like they add stuff, things become more value and all of that. Like, so that would be a thing. And I don't know if the Big 10 has the same, I'm not sure. Right.
Yeah.
But obviously too. And then there's also like the Big 10 has got the relationship with NBC as well. And so there's some synergy there. And they're also in the Big 10 for hockey already and blah, blah, blah. Right. Regionally too. It makes more sense. But the thing is like, he has to maintain relationships with the Big 10 and the SEC because those are the two power brokers in college football right now. And you could argue Notre Dame's third, like right behind them, but they're behind them because they have like more of all those teams together. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and look at the ratings out of like the top 10 teams this year. It's like 7 or 8 SEC teams, right? Like that's of the most watched teams this year. And I think Notre Dame was like 11th or 12th or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of that too is, it's funny because I thought one of the things that stood out to me is like I think someone said in here like they're for Brady Quinn would not be a good AD. He's not qualified to be the AD or whatever. It's not that. I think Pete Bevacqua is like doing a fine job as AD, and I actually think I understand why people want him to go scorcher because everybody's so angry, right?
For sure.
Everyone's so angry, but I think he's kind of like handling it the exact right way because he is obviously very angry at the ACC and has been very direct with it.
Right.
Because the thing is, they hold the hammer over the ACC. Like, I thought it was so interesting and obviously true that he brought up the point about the sellouts and how 23 they sell out 23% of their games when they don't play Notre Dame, 90% of the time when it's Notre Dame. Like, and that is something that obviously Notre Dame fans know that, like, you know, those games are there's way more attendance there than some of these other games when they're playing. Like Pitt made a big deal that the Notre Dame game was a sellout, and you're like, they had a pretty good team this year for them, right? Like, and they're not selling out every game. Like, that just shows you what the actual interest is in that team, that it takes them to play at Notre Dame to do that. Obviously, game day is not coming there, and I'm sure he could go and if you look at the ratings and all that, like, Notre Dame offers so much more value. It's like when, like, Clemson can play Florida State, and that could get a big rating when they're both good, right? But the next best is like Clemson and Notre Dame or whatever. You know, like, that is the thing. Or if you're Pitt, no one's watching a Pitt game unless they're playing a Notre Dame or whatever, right? Like, that's the kind of thing that is there. Like, or Wake Forest or whatever. Like, even that Stanford game being on, I know it was the late game, so it's not like the ideal time or whatever. They're not even making the late game for that Stanford game if it's not Notre Dame. If that is whoever the heck it is, another rando ACC team, that's ACC Network Plus. Like, it's not on there, right? So it's like all that kind of stuff is like, and they have it actually built into their contract of like how much you get with, how much money you get is based on like the eyeballs you get, like,
for sure,
there. And over the next 5 years, so teams want to have Notre Dame on their schedule because they're going to get more eyeballs. And it's one of the reasons why Clemson has made that deal with Notre Dame too, because they know they're not going to get, no one is watching any Clemson games that aren't like the big games on their schedule. That's why that Clemson, if Clemson didn't have to play LSU to start the season or one of these other teams, they wouldn't, but they have to because they need that. They need that extra revenue. They need that they need that attention there. It's not just there like, hey, bring on all comers. If they could, they'd play like the Indiana, you know, early season schedule. But no, they need that money, so they want to do it because they're not getting enough from the ACC as is. In a way, Notre Dame it's not a full member, but Notre Dame next to like Clemson and Florida State when they're good is the most valuable piece of there, like even more valuable than Miami, because Miami just hasn't been good enough for enough years. Like, that was the first time they won 10 games. This year was the first time they won 10 games regular season since 2002. Right. So they haven't really been that much for them. They aren't like that big of a draw all the time. They just haven't played enough big games. Notre Dame is like that. And they're not even in your conference. They only play 5 games. They only play, you know, 2 or 3 games on an ESPN network against an ACC opponent each year. Right. So that is just something that, like, and then you lose that inventory. You don't have that. That is a really, really big deal for the ACC, and especially for Jim Phillips, who's like, he inherited a dumpster fire, and them deciding, and it's, I really like that Bvakqua communicated that. He's like, no, we communicated with them, and we told them like this, and they just kept doing it.
And they kept on going.
They kept going. They could have and they didn't have to offer. And I understand, you would expect apology. They could have just stopped doing it. They actually did make it work. They kept going with it, and they actually went harder. And that's why when he says irreparable damage, and I know people make light of it, people who aren't part of the thing. They're like, oh, Notre Dame's crybabies, this or that, or they opted out in this. It's like, no, anyone would do this if you were and it's, he chose his words very carefully because they're a business partner and they need them for business.
Yeah.
And it's screwing them. It's like, you have a deal with Pepsi at your stadium and then you're promoting Coke or whatever and doing all this and it's a sponsor. It's like, well, why do we pay all this money so you only serve Pepsi in the stadium? It's that kind of thing is a very, very big deal, especially in business when it makes so much money. So, I don't know. I'm really interested to see where it goes from here. And if the ACC, obviously that statement that was put out by Jim Phillips, I think it was kind of whatever. That's not going to fix anything, Yeah.
That was put out to add fodder to social media, aggregators and stuff like that. To feed the blue checks that get paid for content. And you don't have a blue check on Twitter and I don't. And here's a part of that, right? The reason that I don't, because it's actually there's benefits to that.
Yeah.
The reason that I don't is because if you have a blue check, you can get paid to post and your engagement and all the analytics and stuff. We're not engagement posters in that sense. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to rage bait people so that I can get money. And that's what your boy Brett McMurphy's doing, right? That's part of his job. All of those guys, all of those guys with the blue checks, they're getting paid for this. So it's they're not honest brokers. They're just feeding the frenzy that is social media. And so that's why Jim Phillips is putting that out there. Someone put a post up, and I think this is a good way of looking at it. Oh, the ACC, the sibling is greater than the first cousin twice removed. It's yeah, but the first cousin's paying the bills.
Yeah.
First cousin's paying the bills, dog. Notre Dame is paying for, and that's the part of this that Notre Dame can't say, but the ACC knows and that Notre Dame knows. And that's why they're so upset. It's man, we're paying for this. We're paying for all this stuff. Who saved the ACC during COVID? It was Notre Dame. Who saved the ACC during realignment and got Stanford and Cal into that conference? It was Notre Dame. Who's saving the ACC right now through realignment? It's Notre Dame because of their agreement with them. They're not a full member, but the ACC knows, man, if Notre Dame leaves, this is a problem. Because then they'll lose Clemson, and then they'll lose Florida State, and they'll lose Miami. The reason that Miami is even in it is because of Notre Dame. If Notre Dame didn't have an agreement with Miami and they had to live off their ACC wins,
they're not in.
What is Miami's other represent? Where is everyone talks about Bud Elliott and his terrible his dishonest and disingenuous comments about Notre Dame's schedule. Where is Miami's representation in the top 25? Their schedule. It does not exist. It's not
there where Virginia is, to be honest. And it's not even the thing where it's, if you look at, obviously, talent-wise, they have enough talent to compete with the teams, and it's not.
Also, I have a good idea, Jamie. We need to start a new ratio. You know how the blue chip ratio? We need to start a new real athletes ratio. What team has real athletes? Well, let's start a real athlete ratio and get that going. Yeah, and there was a comment in here about Tom Fornelli, going in on Bud, and I'll tell you what, man, because the thing about Twitter is people can craft whatever, they can gaslight you. They can say whatever they want. And it's frustrating because it's this is, I'm being gaslit by this. Like,
Yes.
like when he talks about the ACC and how Notre Dame like schedules light on purpose, like the ACC sets the schedule who they play year after year.
Yeah.
Like it has nothing to do with Notre Dame, but it's like you're being gaslit. And for Tom to in real time just completely shred him and be like, dude, you're being ridiculous and this is dumb. Like I honestly, that made me feel true happiness for the first time in like a 24 hours. Like it was just like, okay, like honestly, I was ready to move on after that because someone got put in their place. But yeah, so that's kind of where it is. I want to go to his comments on why the team opted out. I thought this was like very understandable, and I also, the other part of this too is it was interesting that I thought Marcus Freeman was kind of like, are you sure you guys want to do this? Like Marcus Freeman wasn't trying to not play. And he was like, hey, like, let's chill out. Are you sure you guys want to do this? And they came back to him and said, hey, like, we really don't want to. Kind of go into what you thought about that, and then I'll kind of expand.
Yeah, I think I thought that was really interesting, and I thought that was, I mean, obviously too, it's so stupid too to be like, yeah, Notre Dame didn't want the smoke when you know that like all like Marcus Freeman does is like, hey, let's bring the smoke. That's right. Like literally like, you know, they have like a lot of mantras. I would say like that could be one of them. Oh, just quick too for like Beefeater saying for Rice, they play 10 other Power 4 teams.
I do. We're gonna talk about that later because
yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it later. But so yeah, I thought that was, I think it was good context adding that. Not that it's going to get covered by any of the people who already showed all their outrage from it. Ironically, that Ari Wasserman, after he was like, you know, defiantly against Notre Dame the whole time, talked exactly of like why it made sense. I saw on Twitter, like Andy Staples shared that it was like, he basically said like, yeah, oh, sorry, you had your hearts ripped out. Now you want to play let's go eat some Pop-Tarts. Like, no one's going to want to do that.
Yeah.
And I just think too, like it is true. Like you don't want to make emotional decisions in the moment, but you don't have a choice in that moment. Cause like how he broke down, it's like, they have to decide then, because if they don't, then Georgia Tech isn't going to go play in that BYU. Like Georgia Tech will go to another bowl. Then the Pop-Tarts Bowl is really screwed. And I know the Pop-Tarts guy or whatever was complaining and talking about how much money they're going to lose. You know, and we've talked about like off the air about like how much money they're going to lose from it because Notre Dame's not going and all that. Yeah. Like that's, and you know what? It does suck for them, but that isn't Notre Dame's obligation.
Not Notre Dame's problem.
It's not Notre Dame's problem.
It's it's not also not Notre Dame's problem. Certainly not the players' problem.
Definitely
not their issue.
And I think too, like any coach would say, "Hey, we're going to take the 15 practices
for sure.
You know, we're going to take those extra 15 practices because there's going to be like things like, just perfect example is like, even if they were going to, guys are going to leave and opt out or whatever. It's like, well, now guess what? Let's see Emil Wagner opted out, which would be, I don't think he should have, but like, whatever. Let's just say he did. And he decided whatever, because he's been playing with some injury or whatever. But then you get a game of Gerby Lambert at right tackle where it's like, okay, now you get to play right tackle. And then let's see, you get a game experience. That's valuable. It is valuable, right? Like there's a lot of value in all that kind of stuff. Or even just like, you know, Aeneas Williams getting like, okay, guess what? You get a full game as like the feature back, and Nolan James, right? And then maybe you decide over these course of these practices, okay, we do need to go into the portal for a back and spend whatever, or we don't. Like, you know, that decisions can get made during this time when you see people get more reps and all these kind of things too. So it's not like Notre Dame wouldn't have taken that, but you have to understand why they wouldn't go into it. And frankly, too, putting the power, giving the power to the players in that is honestly,
I was just about to say that.
Honestly, that is the kind of thing when you wonder why these players stump for Marcus Freeman. You wonder why the parents, why, you know, we talked about Gerby Lambert's mom on Power, like how you wonder why they do that. Because he doesn't treat them, he treats them like men. He treats them like, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to learn from you. I'm going to do this. And that is not the normal way of college football. Like, that is not the normal way. And it kind of has to be the new way of coaching kids, and especially of these guys, because really now they're young professionals rather than just that. Rather than just being like the guys that before where it's like, hey, guess what? We're going to run you in no water, like whatever. Those days are gone. Like, that's not the kind of thing. And that's also too why the whole idea of like, well, we're going to break somebody down in strength and conditioning and just kill them. And then you're going to puke and you're going to do this. It's like, that doesn't work anymore, because players want to know, like, what is this for? Am I going to get better from this? Like, I'm trying to get bigger, faster, stronger. I'm not trying to get like broken from this, you know, like mentally broken. They want to know, like, not just what's in it for them, but they want to be like invested in it. And that's how you get investment back from the players. That's 100%. So, and I'm sure there's other guys there's probably guys on the team, because I remember like going all the way back to like, I mean, I'm old. I played ball, like college ball. It was during 9/11 happened when I was in school. I was literally at a morning workout.
I had practice that day.
Yes. I had a morning workout. We were like, a guy came in and was like, they just flew the planes in the Twin Towers. Yeah. Like, what? Like, all of a sudden you're rushing home. And then it's like, well, are we going to class? Like, what's going on? All this kind of stuff. And there was a bunch of guys in the team. I mean, I was one of those guys that was like, I don't think it's right to play this week. But there was like a bunch of guys on the team that did want to play. But guess what? It didn't even matter what one guy said on the team. And it didn't actually matter what the coaches said either. It was like, well, went beyond that. And even though that's obviously a much different circumstance, but I'm just saying, like, it was not something that was like, players, it didn't even matter what your opinion was. You know, it did not at all. And it's just totally different now. And also too, like, that bowl game, like, I think of like the Music City Bowl for Notre Dame, which I think was like a big bowl game in the context of where Notre Dame was in that season and how bad the end of that season went, and how it kind of was a big step to propel them for 2015, right? Because it was there. They beat LSU. They're playing a good opponent, all that kind of stuff too. Now, in that circumstance, because of the transfer portal, because of NIL, because of all these other things, because also the players realize that this game really doesn't mean anything. Like, I don't, like, it doesn't count for anything. Like, that game would have looked so different at that time. And we don't know too that a bunch of those guys wouldn't have bounced that were end up being a big part of that 2015 team, right? So it's just so different today than it was then. So anyone kind of pining like, I really hope this isn't the start or something, buddy, it started long ago. Like, this has been going on basically the day that Jalen Smith tore his knee. And from that day on, it was like, there's always going to be people who would say like, no, why are you playing in this mean nothing game? Because it means something to the fans, because it's like, yeah, an extra chance to watch your favorite team and all that. It doesn't mean that much for the actual team, and it means something for like the payout and all that kind of stuff, but it's for sponsors. And for ESPN. They're the ones making the most out of it.
Like, I think too, you know, you mentioned the power. Like, when the team itself is in a situation where they felt misled, and they certainly felt manipulated. And they probably felt like, because I felt like this, like it felt like they were made to be fools and to be humiliated and to be like a joke, you know? And because they saw what was happening throughout the process, right? And it's again, like they didn't vote, they didn't say anything. They just are part of it. They probably felt lied to by the committee. And so they had no power over that. So the committee took something away from them. I think they want, and from their point of view, I think there's probably an aspect of like, hey, we're taking control of our situation now. We are in control of what we do. You don't, like when Marcus goes to tell them and says, well, there's going to be backlash. From their point of view, it's like, man, there's been backlash. There's been backlash on their team for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. The conference that they're affiliated with has been bombarding them. Everyone's making fun of them. Everyone is saying how bad they are. Everyone's saying, like on ESPN, the biggest network in the industry, is talking about how bad they are. Everyone on Twitter is talking about. There's a campaign from people all over, like prominent people like Feldman and Ari Wasserman and guys like that, like talking about how they should not be in the playoff. And now it comes to this, and it's like, oh, there's going to be backlash. It's like, from who? From people who already think we suck? From people who already are saying we're terrible? It's like, who cares about them? This is about their team. And if you're gonna, if they're gonna sit there, because here's the other part. Not just players who are leaving, right? Like Jeremiah Love can't play or won't play. Jadarian Price won't play. Eli Raridan won't play, right? Maybe Emil Wagner won't play. Not just them, guys going on in the NFL, but like we know Christian Gray's got a hip problem. Does he need surgery on his hip? Does Leonard Moore need a procedure on his ankle? So I remember Kyle Hamilton after the 2020 season, or when he turned his ankle in the opener, he came back and played the rest of the year. As soon as the season ended after the playoffs, he had sorry, I had to ban this guy. He had surgery on his ankle. He had to get his ankle cleaned up, missed all of spring. Like, how many of those guys need that to happen? We don't know. Right. So why should they say, all right, we're going to go play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
Yeah.
When Stu Mandel, the editor of The Athletic, is tweeting out that the edible mascot is a bigger draw than Notre Dame is. So wait a minute. These bowl games are so important and everyone's so concerned about Notre Dame's practices. There was a point made in the chat. Other fans are more concerned about Notre Dame missing this game than Notre Dame fans are. Other fans are more concerned about Notre Dame's bowl practices than the Notre Dame team is. Interesting. So, like, this is all performative, and the Pop-Tarts Bowl is just a meme generator for social media. Why does the team care about that? Why is someone like CJ Carr going to risk missing next season with an injury?
Yeah.
For the memes. So that what? People can make fun of them. So during the whole broadcast, they can talk about how they didn't make it with a shell of a team that they were, that even got them to this point. So if the team says, hey, our team is our team. Our team is Jeremiah Love. Our team is Jadarian Price. Our team is Emil Wagner. Our team is Billy Schrauth. Our team is Eli Raridan. Like, that is our team. And if our team can't be out there, then it's not our team anymore. And we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly understandable for anyone who cares to listen to that and understand that. Like, you're not on the team. Listen to their reasons and evaluate it from there. It makes perfect sense. It absolutely makes perfect sense. So, it's disappointing when the comments came out right when it happened and people were writing things about how it's bad for college football. We know who we're talking about there. Like, it's just, it's like, you could have just waited, man. Like, you could have just waited and found out what the reason was. It's perfectly understandable. Sean,
I haven't heard. Oh, sorry. Before you go to just, I haven't heard anyone make. So I know there's somebody in the comments right here saying like they made a mistake opting out. They should have played another bowl. Like, why? Other than the 15 practices, is there an actual reason why? Like, why? There, I don't really see like for Texas and for BYU and Vanderbilt and all that. Like, I mean, first of all, Vanderbilt, it's not even like they barely make a bowl game. This is like I think this is the first year in I don't know how many years that they've made bowl games in back-to-back years. It's a totally different thing for them.
And you know what? They might need the money.
They might need the money, honestly. But for Texas, I mean, Texas, first of all, they knew they were out already, so it's not the same reaction. But for Texas, if Texas's players decided we wanted to get out of a bowl, first of all, I don't know if Texas's players know that they have that power to do that, but they do have that power. But if they wanted to, they could do it. And what would be the harm? If Texas, man, that's really bad for. I'm sorry, there's people who watch like the 5th place Conference USA team versus the 7th place MAC team or whatever, and it's like it doesn't matter. Like this is all just like none of these games count. It's like if teams that actually are competing for a national championship want to get out of not playing because it's like they don't want to go to the NIT, it's exactly like the NIT is what it is. Yeah. And I see people opt out of the NIT all the time. You never hear outrage over it because it's a consolation prize. And it's not a good consolation prize either. It's not like before where you went to a New Year's Six Bowl if you just missed it. No. Now you're going to play on the 27th. Well, guess what? You don't go to have Christmas at home. You don't have all these things. That's like, it does go into, it should be a thing that you think about. We're like, no. And also too, like, there's probably a lot of people, I mean, it's, final exams. They're deciding what they want to do about their future. Some guys are like, am I coming back to Notre Dame? Do they want me back? All that, all these kind of things that are going on. So I think there's just so much more going on there than it just like, they should play just because you're a quitter if you don't. No, you're not. It's an exhibition game. If it's not like they say they're opting out of playing. Well, we got knocked out say they lost the Syracuse game, let's just say, which is comical because of how that game went. But let's just say they lost the Syracuse game and they decided not to play in the Stanford game. Well, then that would be a joke because you are not finishing the actual regular season and you're actively hurting another team's their final regular season. It's not the same.
And like, it's their decision.
Yeah.
They're on the team. Like Justin K said, or he's saying, using this logic sounds like Notre Dame should only go to the CFP and no longer other bowls in the future. Pete Bevacqua said, this is specific to this team. It was this team. It is their situation and they voted on it. It is not an indication of how they're going to go forward. Like things change. Everything changes. So I don't, it's not that complicated. Like, I think people are honestly just virtue signaling. Yeah. It's just like, oh yeah, I would never. It's like, well, you're not on this team. You're not on the team. But how do you know what you would never do? You weren't in this situation. So everyone talks about Georgia. Oh, Georgia. Like, Georgia went to the freaking Orange Bowl.
Yes. It's not the same.
Like, it is no way the same.
I don't even know where the Pop-Tarts Bowl is. Like, I don't know where it is.
It's the old Champ Sports Bowl. It's in Orlando. So, I mean, that's what it is. Okay. They don't need to play in it. They don't need to play in it. John Baloney, thank you for the super chat. Why does the bowl practice rule even exist? Don't teams that don't make bowls need to practice more? Great job all season, gentlemen. Happy holidays. Why does the rule exist, Jamie?
Well, one, if you were just practicing, without games, I guess, like, then they could. Why couldn't you practice in February or whatever, or January or whatever? Like, so I think they want to attach it to a game. And that's their kind of way around it. But really, if you think about it, there really shouldn't be. Why doesn't everybody get extra practices if they want it in that time? I think it's actually probably a pretty good point. You really don't need to. Like, if you're 5-7, so Wisconsin, perfect example. Wisconsin, 5-7. Although some of these teams opted out of going to bowl games, right? Like they opted out of going to bowl games or 5-7. A bunch of teams. I just read on Twitter too. There's 10 teams that have opted out of bowl games. Notre Dame's not the only one, but
right.
I don't think like if it's. I don't understand why they wouldn't be able to just practice if they want to, but at the same time, you have actually enough guys to practice. Like, do you have enough guys to actually run a full practice? Because there's a lot of teams that are like, if you have a losing season, there's like 30, 40 guys are leaving. And are those guys going to want to practice? Those guys don't want to practice when they don't have anything to play for. So that's kind of why you wouldn't even have it. It wouldn't even be an option. And frankly, too, if you think about it, it's going to happen sooner or later. There will be some kind of collective bargaining talking about like when practices are and players having more say of like, we don't want to do spring ball anymore. Or we don't want to do this. We want to do these mini camps instead. There's going to be some, like, all of this stuff is changing and is going to keep changing, just like how it has over the last, 5 to 10 years, where before the coaches used to not have any contact with the players in the summer. You weren't allowed. Like, it was like, they can't even watch them do 7-on-7. Like, that was a thing. And now you get like X amount of hours a week with the coaches where you can do meetings. You can do that. Before teams were doing it, but you weren't supposed to. Like, it was against the rules. So all these things change, and they'll change rules however they see fit. And frankly, they should, because it's like everything is there's so much investment into all of this that why wouldn't you just like, they could still be students, but they're still doing the work. Like, only going to work out is the only part of it. No, it's like far greater than that now.
Yeah. It's from TS Armadillo. He's quoting Joel Klatt here. I'm going to assume that Joel Klatt made this quote. Okay. I don't know that for a fact because I didn't hear it. I'm going to assume that Armadillo is not lying to me right now. Okay. When my boys are affected by something they think is unfair, I don't ask them what they want to do. I parent them. So here's the thing, right? You're a parent. I'm a parent. Get
rid of Princess Kate right now.
Oh, okay. Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. Hold on, because I can't ban people and also make a comment on the show.
Sorry. So it just jumped out. Yes.
Yeah. Just give me a second. Give me a second.
Sorry about that, Greg.
No one replied to the troll person in the chat. Sorry. I'll put this back up. I parent them. So you parent them. First of all, you're referring to boys. Okay. These are men who we're talking about. Okay. The other part is, so you parent them and then they grow up to be 18, 19, 20-year-old and have a point of view on things and have convictions in their beliefs. And then what Marcus Freeman did is just said, okay, you're upset. Think about it. Let's not make an emotional decision and come back to me. The team talked about it again. And they said, no, this is what we want to do. And so then Marcus Freeman said, okay, we'll support that. That's what parenting is, in fact. It is not what he's saying here. I parent them. I tell them what to do is what he's saying there.
Yeah.
That is not what parenting is. That is not how you raise adults who think for themselves, who make their own decisions, right? Again, this is a virtue signal. I wouldn't do it like this. Well,
I'm totally sorry to interrupt, but we got to get rid of that person now. They have a swastika.
Okay. All right.
I'm so sorry, Greg. I didn't mean to.
It's
but
fine. It's fine.
It's
fine. All right. Go. Please continue.
Yeah. Sorry. Keep going.
No, I made a point. I'm done.
Yes.
They're out of the chat.
Yeah. And sorry for interrupting, but
No, it's fine.
I 100%. When you're parenting your boys, also, are your boys like 21 and 19 years old? Like, or 19, 20, 21, 22, 23? Like, are they that? Or are they like, what are we talking about? Because there's a different way to, you parent kids at different ages, different. And it's not the same thing. And also, too, he is their coach. And yes, he's a mentor to them, whatever. He's also not their mom and dad. Like, yeah, he is like, I'm sure he's a father figure to some of these people that are, I mean, that have fathers too, but I'm just saying, like, he is like someone, you know, who they look up to and respect, and he, you know, genuinely cares about them. But he also doesn't tell them everything that they need to do, like everything, just like how when he talked about the thing with Jugasaw in the summer, he's like, well, I'm not going to tell these guys, no, you can't have any fun in the summer and you can't do this, whatever. I'm not going to be like, you can't do anything. Like, no, you know, obviously you want someone to make better choices, whatever, but he's not going to be like, well, now we're banning this or whatever. Like, he has to do that, just like how NFL coaches, they're going to treat those guys like men too, and decide things. And obviously what Marcus Freeman says will be like the main thing. Like, obviously he is the boss of the program, but I just don't understand anyone who thinks that like you wouldn't listen to the players. Or also to, like, how about the players did the exact same thing at Kansas State when their coach retired, and they said, no, we don't want to play. Like,
That's different. That's different. The other part is Joel Klatt hosts a podcast and it does color commentary. He doesn't coach a football team of 105 people.
Yeah.
All 18 to 23 years old. They're not your boys. They're not Marcus Freeman's children. If they have a point of view, he's going to listen to them. That's what coaching is. That's what parenting is. And the other part is it's not. When did Notre Dame say they're not doing it because it's not fair? They do it. They're not doing it because they don't think it's right for them specifically. Oh man, it's funny. All right, conversations with Greg Sankey. Oh, I wanted to talk about the schedule. Because someone brought up Rice, and I'll bring it up again. Here's the thing with Rice, right? They play 10 other Power 4 schools. They play 10 other Power 4 schools. The other program that isn't Power 4 is Navy. And it's like, it's one of those things where it doesn't have to come up in this. It doesn't have to come up in this format. But like at some point, someone needs to ask Bvakqua about this Navy game. It does nothing for them, and it disproportionately affects the rest of their schedule. Like you can't schedule a game. You can't schedule a game that takes multiple weeks to prepare for, where they've won how many games? Is it 10 in a row? 11 in a row?
Yeah. I think it's
in the last 50 years, they're 46-4.
Yeah.
You can't schedule a game that you get no credit for that takes a disproportionate amount of time. See, the thing about scheduling Rice is you prepare for Rice that week and that's it. You're spending time in the offseason to prepare for Navy. You're spending time during the bye week to prepare for Navy, a team that you win 49-10 and you get no credit for playing them. None. They're 11-2, no credit. What is the benefit there? I don't understand. Yeah. It actively hurts you. Like they slipped up against Boston College to the extent that they did because they had the Navy game next week. How is it helping? Yeah, this is
The
one
fact
where
that
it's
you have
like,
to prepare for that specific offense, and it's so different than everything else
yeah,
too, is really the thing that has always stuck with me, because it throws you out of your complete rhythm of the season. It's the only game where you have to say, hey, whatever we're doing in our like base defense, you're not like, hey, we're adding this in or taking this out this week. It's like, hey, we're learning a brand new thing this week only. That's the only thing you do it. And yes, whatever. We understand everything about the debt being paid, but having to do that specifically, it is very hard to just do that. Like, and anyone who's like coached high school football or played high school football, and you know that like the variety of teams you can play. Well, one week you're playing a wing T team, next week you're playing a spread team, and this and all that. And that you see that a lot more in high school programs, right? Like that's something that's way more prevalent than in like college football, because there's only very few teams at the FBS level run some version of a triple option type of offense. But you play them every year. That's a lot. Like the fact that they have to spend time in the spring, like, hey, make sure we're doing some stuff to remember doing this. Like, no, like that's crazy. Like that is really hard to do. Which is probably why remember how they played Army, and Marcus was like, "What? Why are we playing Army in Yankee Stadium the week before we got to go to USC?" And then it's the 100-year anniversary, and he's like, "Yeah, okay." Like, but it was a stupid idea, and it probably hurt them doing that, and then having to fly across the country the next week to play a completely different offense. Or right, so that's the kind of thing that does really hurt you. And then I mean, I guess we could just talk briefly about like how like, so they're playing 10 power 4 teams, right?
mm.
And obviously like Wisconsin, it's like they don't know Wisconsin at the time that
this was the 2020 game. Like this is supposed to be played during COVID. I mean, this is the COVID year Wisconsin game that they scheduled a decade ago.
Yes.
I mean, 2017. So
and at that time they were winning 10 games a year and going to the Rose Bowl and all that.
Yeah.
So it is completely different context now that obviously, like, I mean, he's basically Luke Fickell's either get turned around or he's lame duck, like he's going to lose his job, and that's a completely different situation than they were before. And even if you look at, say, like, I mentioned on Power Hour to Mike too, right? Like Michigan State. I mean, I always look ahead at the future schedules. I don't know about you, Greg. I always look like, who are they playing just like 2 or 3 years down the line. Like when I see like new coaches getting hired and stuff too, because I was like, well, that's going to be year 3 of Jonathan Smith. And at the time when he gets hired, you're like, I think he's done a pretty good job. I think he's a pretty good coach. I think Michigan State should be pretty good in year 3. Well, turns out it was a disaster and he gets fired. So now they're kind of like in a rebuild mode and whatever. And like now that's Fitz, coaching there. And I'm like, okay, well, that game's probably going to be a lot like worse of an opponent. And even playing Purdue, like you don't know that Jeff Brom's going to be there. And then obviously with all the ACC teams, like it's a crapshoot. And now there's so many teams in the league, you don't even know. Like who would have thought that SMU is going to be the second best ACC team next to Miami? Like you would have think that like North Carolina, if they made the right hire, that's probably like a tough game. But because it looks like a tire fire, like is Belichick going to even be there? I don't know. Like we don't even know, right? Like, and if he is it going to be so bad that it's like you just can't tell. Like you don't know where any of these like how it's going to work out. I will say the one thing that you could say that they do have a little bit of control over is the Stanford series, and the fact that like Stanford, I don't know how they're ever going to be, because when they were good, and then it's like, you know that they're going to have like 2 top 25-ish teams on the schedule, right? Because even obviously some years USC wasn't getting it done, but they're still a talent. So USC and Stanford, rivals, like those are rivals, and you're playing them, and it's like, well, then Stanford's good. Like, that's a hard game to win every year. And Stanford was stealing recruits from Notre Dame for a time and all this, and they were all this kind of stuff. Well, that's not the same as it is. Like, it was like 2018 was the last year that they were decent. Like, they haven't been good in so long. Like, even this year where you're like, wow, they beat Cal the week before, and Notre Dame just boat raced them like to infinity. So I don't know, maybe Tavita Pritchard gets it going there, but they're probably going to stink for at least the next couple years, you know? So I don't know. Like, and then what if he's a disaster? Then they suck again and whatever. Then it's like you played them for 10 years every year and they were brutal. And I get it. It is like a rival, but now you do have to think about all these other pieces. If like, maybe that would be better if you rotated somebody else in there. And, and just based on going back to what Bvakqua said today, when people are like, oh, all these teams should, why are they even scheduling Notre Dame? Like, none of these Power 4 teams should. Like Joe Shad, like, get out of here, Joe Shad, you loser. Like, you know why they do it? They like money. They like money. They like to sell out their stadium. They like game day to come. They like people to watch their team, all of that. And that's why Notre Dame still, even though Notre Dame isn't the television brand that Ohio, I would say Ohio State, Alabama, maybe Texas, whatever, those are like the top whatever in terms of they draw more eyeballs than Notre Dame. But Notre Dame is they're one of those teams that still, they bring you more than you were ever going to get against playing some random team. And, there's only like, a couple handfuls of like 10 programs maybe in the country that can actually do that for you. And Notre Dame is one of them. And as long as there's that, these teams are always going to schedule Notre Dame because it's important to them. So Alabama actually doesn't have to schedule Notre Dame. But even then, remember how one of the things with Saban, it was like he was complaining, well, students aren't even showing up to these games because they're beating, some crappy FCS team, whatever. And it was like, well, they had to start doing better games because their fans were like, yeah, winning's not enough. We got to play some good teams. So that does matter.
Yeah. K-Way for real. Thank you for the super chat. Agree with you guys when it comes to Navy, but Notre Dame didn't get any credit for smacking Arkansas either. Catch 22. The point is that when Navy's good, you get
it doesn't matter.
Nothing.
Yeah.
When Arkansas is good,
like you will get
even
credit.
if they're 8-4, you get credit for that. And the other part is Arkansas is just a team you prepare for that week. You don't take multiple weeks. It's pretty simple. It doesn't benefit. It doesn't benefit the football team. The thing with it's just funny, like how it's like people threaten to not play Notre Dame all the time. And like Notre Dame is opting out of a meaningless bowl game, an exhibition, and it's like a big problem. It's like like USC's been trying to run away from this game for a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, and then it's like, well, Notre Dame doesn't play in the exhibition. It's like a big problem. Speaking of that, on the Echoes today, with Jesse Matana and Mike Golick Jr., Pete Bevacqua said he expects a short-term extension with USC, and then he said a gap. I think he said, or a gap or a break in the series. That sounds to me like they're going to play next year, and the next couple of years they won't. It sounds like that to me, which makes sense because I think Notre Dame I think Notre Dame needs the USC game next year, but the years after that, when they play Texas and things like that, then they don't. So it makes sense to me. Makes sense to me that they would do that. Final thoughts on because we do kind of, I think we can kind of close the door on this. I think a little bit. Hopefully, we can start talking portal soon.
Yeah.
Because the point is that like the program needs to move forward. I'd like to do some things on the 2025 team. Pete Bevacqua talked about like we got to celebrate this team because they're very good and they are. I do think but that everything needs to move forward now. It is what it is. It happened. Everyone's going to kind of move on. I think today is a good way to kind of put the cap on like what happened and everyone's feelings and move forward. Any final thoughts before we get going?
Yeah, I just think it is good to kind of like move on from this. And I understand I also heard Bvakqua say that, he feels worse every day about it.
Yeah.
And I get it, right? Like I get it. And I also get it too, that there's other Notre Dame fans, like who you screwed at the beginning of the podcast saying I don't want to be invested in this when it's like you get your heart ripped out from this. And it's like, why am I investing in this kind of corrupt system? I get it. But like, the thing is like, you do it because think about how fun the season was this year. Unfortunately, it was the bitter end, extremely bitter, but the season and what they did, especially coming back from where they were at the beginning, like it's a shame. This team will be remembered to me, and I'm going to write about it in 6 thoughts. Like to me is this team is going to be remembered like the 1993 team. Mm-hmm. Exactly like it, right? Where it's like celebrated, but it'll never fully get its due because they didn't get that final prize. And this team didn't even get really that chance at it. But it doesn't take away all the other stuff that happened during the season that was great and exciting, and also leads into 2026 as well for a lot of these guys. And I also think too, like one thing that I think has really popped, just there's more guys in the NFL that are doing well from Notre Dame right now.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Than I can remember since like Holtz time, after Holtz time with all of those guys, because obviously BK sent guys to the NFL, and there's guys like, Zach Martin finished his whole career now. He's a Hall of Famer. Like, Stephon Tuitt played like 10 years in the league. He made, Pro Bowl a couple times. There's a bunch of guys who did really, really well and were great for their time or whatever. And Kyle Hamilton is probably going to be a Hall of Famer and all that. And I know he played the end of Marcus Freeman and all that too. But now you're just seeing more of these guys where it's like, man, there's just a lot more guys. If you're watching like a Sunday night football game and it's like Cam Hart, Notre Dame, whatever, like there's more of those guys around than ever. And so it is one of these things that you're just going to see these guys from this team who didn't get to play, and finish it out the way they want to, but there's going to be a bunch of guys from this team who are in the NFL and in Notre Dame's fans' lives for a long time, because they're going to play professional football for a very, very long time. Yeah. Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, all these guys. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. All right. I think we can end it there. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and hit that notification bell. So whenever it is we're going live, we'll be back on Thursday with some more talk, maybe some recruiting stuff. They picked up a good commitment for today from Ace Alston, cornerback from, I think it's Cincinnati, Ohio. It's big. He's a big time player. So we'll get into more of that stuff. And then maybe there's some, maybe there's some portal stuff that we can get into. So, all right. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. We'll talk to you on Thursday. Keep hitting and hustling.